You. All right, I'm good now. Yo, what's good, everybody? What's good? Another episode of In Space. I'm your host, Chris Connor. Yo, man, I'm gonna get Andrew up here. If y'all are unaware, if y'all just saw the spaces, if y'all didn't see the other tweets, um, Andrew Lopez from ESPN, New Orleans' own, now San Antonio's, partially will he found some time and got us locked in to be able to run up here and answer as many questions as we can. I probably had this running for about an hour, so I believe this is Andrew's first time up here speaking. So this is cool, man. A good way for everybody to connect if they want to come up here and be a part of the conversation. So let me get my dog up here, and we'll get the show going. If y'all have any questions, this isn't recorded. This will be on YouTube. The link will be sent out as it's been with the previous spaces. So y'all be able to find it there, asking questions. And if I can't get you up here or you busy and you can't talk, just comment your question. And if we got enough time, we'll go ahead and read them off. So let me get Andrew up here and let's get it, y'all.
There we go.
Yo.
Hey, don't say I'm San Antonio's, man.
Hey,
don't say that.
I mean, look, you know what? I almost said San Antonio's own, but I was, I didn't want to do that to you so soon.
That was it's weird, man. I will tell y'all this. This is night 2, technically, in San Antonio for me. It's been a week getting out here, getting settled, driving twice from New Orleans to San Antonio, but definitely glad to be here. I think I was in like one of the original spaces that you all started doing, like one of the first ones. And I remember driving home on it, and like I remember having to do laps because I wasn't ready to go in my house, and I wasn't trying to get in my house and still be loud. And it was right after that where we had some rules on our side that weren't, didn't allow me to partake the way I wanted to, but I've lurked. Now we finally get to speak, so I'm ready to get it going.
Cool, man. So I mean, before we get into it, yeah, man. I mean, you are, you are from the city. You have done a lot of work, overall, with the Pelicans, and now you're going into a different role where you still will be putting out Pelicans coverage, but you're going to be doing it out of San Antonio. For those that missed when you talked about it, or when you kind of referenced it on Zach Lowe's show and what you're often on, and when you tweeted it, how did the opportunity come to you, and what are you looking forward
Yeah,
to?
so it's definitely an exciting opportunity professionally, right? Like, don't get me wrong. This is a chance um, to grow in a lot of different ways. Obviously, when I was hired by ESPN back in 2019, a couple months after the Advocate Pelican, Picayune merger that didn't go my way slash definitely went my way. Looking at where I ended up, um, I was basically hired to, I was an NBA reporter, but like, it was to focus on Z. I mean, and that's no secret. And I think it allowed me to grow, to learn the NBA process, to learn, I think, a lot of different things that to learn about the NBA. I'd really only covered the NBA at that point for 1.5 seasons. Um, and I say half. I covered a team back in 14, 15 as like a second guy, where I would go in and do whatever the secondary story was that night. I wasn't doing, big things, but I remember being there for that. And then I had the 1 year covering the team for the Picayune, and it was great. I loved it. I knew even back then that's what I wanted to cover. I wanted to be an NBA guy. I wanted to cover the league, cover basketball, and ESPN took a chance on me, and I'm forever grateful for that. And they took a kid who, I mean, honestly had one full season of being a beat writer under his belt, and they said, "Hey, we're going to give you a 9 month contract." And that was Zion's first year, which of course um, ended with COVID, and really screwed a lot of things up. But from there, they're like, "Hey, we're going to give you a full time contract." Well, my contract was up this year. It would have been up this year, so I was up for. They could re-sign me. They could let me go, and obviously, we saw what happened with ESPN this summer, right? And I think it would have been something that could have happened where they decided not to. And luckily for me, they like what I do. They like the work that I've put out, and they decided to sign me up for a contract extension, which I'm grateful for. At that point, when I signed that contract extension back in March, it was with the intention of staying in New Orleans and then growing as a more of a national reporter, but still being based in New Orleans. And then obviously, once Victor went to a market where we didn't have anyone, things started to change. And I want to say it was obviously the next day I had made a phone call. I was supposed to make a phone call to my bosses and tell them, "Hey, look, I just want to let you guys know I'd be willing to go down to San Antonio for a couple of weeks at a time, help um, cover him maybe with some of my colleagues, and try to really figure out, what the best way to do this was." And their counter to that was, "Hey, how would you feel about moving to San Antonio?" Which I was a little taken aback by. I mean, I have been like, I'm New Orleans through and through. I am 36 years old. I have lived in New Orleans 34 years of my life. The only two I didn't live in New Orleans, since I don't count living in Houston for Katrina. I don't think anybody counts that. Um, my 3 or 4 months there was the 2 years that I spent covering LSU in Baton Rouge. I, you know, that's home. And so it came at a weird time. It came at a time where, uh, in the NBA, you only get 2 months, 3 months to really do anything you really want to do off season wise. You get like August, September. I had planned. Me and my girl got married, started a month. We were going on a honeymoon. We had all this stuff planned, and then it was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, I need you to move to San Antonio." This has been probably the craziest 3 and a half, 4 weeks of my life. And when they approached me, I was like, "Look, at first, did I want to stay in New Orleans and try to do it from there? Of course. Like I said, this is home. It's home for her. It's home for me. Always will be. But when a professional opportunity like this knocks you, you can't turn it down. And so um, that's kind of what got us here. And It's, as I walk around a house full of boxes right now and full of, a bunch of New Orleans stuff, it's still kind of surreal. It's still kind of weird, but it's definitely, I'm excited for this next chapter.
Dope, man. So you're exiting. Um, one of the things you mentioned was that um, you were stationed when everything was set up with ESPN. You were stationed mainly with Zion being
Yeah,
drafted. Now you're going from Zion to Wemby. Um, what because I am interested in some of the things that you learned about covering someone with that kind of hype. Um, and I guess after that, before
right.
I start bringing people up, what what have you learned about Zion and that whole situation that you're going to take with you in covering Wimby, and with all of the reports that are coming out, of course, again as media days approaching and the season's on the way about Zion and the shape that he's in. What can you tell the people that are in here if there's anything um, different or anything that they should be excited about that's um, going forward into I think a lot of people would say is a crucial season for the Pelicans.
Yeah, I think to the first part of that, you know, when you're covering certain guys in this league, the LeBrons, the Stephs, everything they do is a story. Um, Z found that out this summer. Everything you do is major news, um, both on and off the court. And we saw that early on with Victor, right? I mean, as much as the hype is, the first story after he was drafted was what? Britney Spears. You know what I mean? Everything that happens, everything you do is there's a spotlight on you, and these guys recognize that. Their teams recognize that. The team that they've put together around them recognize that, and it's it's a lot on these kids. It really is, man. Like it's just so much that they have to deal with, and I think the thing that I'm going to take is its interest level is so high. Like you know, a 30-point game by Z or a 30-point game by Victor is going to be looked at differently than a 30-point game by Trey or a 30-point game by Keldon Johnson. That's just how it is. That's just how media is right now, and so it's a reminder though that it's everything, everything is just heightened around these guys. And then as far as Z right now, I think we've heard Griff say it, um, publicly. Zion has been at the facility more than he has been in any of his previous years. Now, small caveat to that, I think the first year, his COVID year, um, I mean, he nobody could be around the facility. By the end of the year, I mean, you had like a month before the next season, so like there wasn't much time there. The broken foot year, he broke his foot, I think, early in the summer. Wasn't really around because of that. So, but it is still something. It is still a step in the right direction to me, that he has been around just a little bit. They have stayed in New Orleans a little bit longer than they typically do in the summer. Um, he does have a couple of new guys working with him, from what I've been told. I think I put that in. We did have an ESPN story today that I wrote about Zion that I didn't tweet until like 4 o'clock because I had movers at my house. Um, it was, I think this year they're specifically working on lower body, to try to get him ready and get him prepared for the season. I mean, I honestly feel, and I think we saw it last year when he's on the court. This is a different team. Period. Um, if you get 65 games out of Zion Williams, I think the Pelicans win 50 easy. That is a very big ask. In his 4 seasons, he's only played over 30 games one time. He's gone 24, 61, none, 29. Now, granted, the 61 year, I think he played with. I mean, if they were in contention, I could have seen him playing with the broken finger late in the season. So he would have got to 67, 66 out of 67 out of 72. However, I think they were out of it at that point. It's, hey, let's improve our odds to be where we're at. However, everything is trending in the right direction, but this is the off season. It's September. Everybody says the right thing in September. Everybody says everybody's in the best shape of their career. Everybody's doing the right thing. How does this translate? And I think that's, to me, is where you got to see what's next. Pels finally announced the staff changes today. Aaron Nelson is a special advisor. I don't think he's going to be doing much advising, but he's now a special advisor. He's mostly out of the equation. They hired a director of rehabilitation. That's the physical therapist that Griff mentioned last week. Her and a couple of the staff members, Tom Maestad being one of them, are going to assume different roles in the medical process. I think that's going to help the team as a whole, not just Z. Moving forward, kind of a different philosophy there. It's something that they have been trying to work on in recent years. So excited to see exactly what that's going to mean, for this team moving forward. But Z's been doing the right stuff. He's trying. Let's see if it, what it really means when he gets out on the floor.
Well said. And with that, I'm gonna start getting some folks up here, y'all. If y'all are new to this, just put a request in. I don't know how many San Antonio fans are gonna be in here. We're gonna keep that a ratio. It's gonna be like 80-20 Pelicans. But if you're a Spurs fan, get up here and send a request. Let's do 1-part question so I can get Andrew out in an hour. I'm gonna start with Chaz. I'm gonna go to Rocky, and then I'm gonna go to Everett. And then we're going to talk about how you and Larry Nance kind of sound similar. It's crazy. And I was thinking this before, and he popped up. What's good, Larry? He popped up.
Hey, hold on. Before we do that, I got to go. I'm going to stay here long, but I just got a question real quick.
All right, let's go, Larry.
How much time have you spent in San Antonio thus far?
This is honestly day 2. I showed up Monday to go see their facility. They're amazing, amazing facility. Flew back on Wednesday, drove back yesterday. So this is actually our first full day in San Antonio.
Oh, all right. I was gonna say, so you haven't got a good sample size. I just had a quick question. I just wanted to know, and we can talk about this when I see you in San Antonio. I just want to know if Charles Barkley was right. That was it. That's all I wanted to know.
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that. When I see you in San Antonio, we're gonna talk about that.
Hey, y'all have a good night. I just wanted to butt in there. I just had to ask a quick question. That's it.
Appreciate it, Larry.
Appreciate that, Larry. We are not going to talk about the women in San Antonio on this show.
Enjoy your night.
But all right, brother. All right, Chaz, you up there?
Yeah, I'm at
All right, bro. Go ahead.
Man, San Antonio, the land that time forgot. I'm telling y'all, San Antonio is old, boy. But anyway, how you doing, Andrew?
Good,
bro? Congratulations on your promotion, and gotta be exciting to cover Wemby and be around Pop and just a dope organization, man. Congratulations to you.
Appreciate it, man. And look, it's exciting, man, and to be able to actually experience Pop firsthand and all that he is, and everything you've heard about him is one thing, but very excited to be able to actually cover a guy like Victor, who, I mean, I think I said this on a low post. When I go watch Z, I know I can see something that's never been seen on the basketball floor before. He's gonna blow you away. I feel like Wemby is the exact same thing.
Ooh, man, shit, the wind might blow him away, but that's a good point. But I wanted to ask you, bro. Like, you've been covering the team for a while, and how come we never see Zion playing basketball in the offseason? Like, I know Zion's a semi-private person, but for a person who has a team that seems to be very brand conscious, even when he's healthy going into the offseason, like, we might see some photos of him working out, like lifting weights or just doing something like that, but we never really see him playing like solid, tangible, non-circumstantial evidence
Right.
of him playing basketball with adult men. Like we never see that. Why do you think that
So
is?
I think some dudes just don't like working out with other guys, and that's really the only time you see that during the summer. Z's a guy who is very much he'll work out by himself. He's kind of like Giannis in that standpoint. Like Giannis doesn't really have dudes work out with him. I know Evan Turner joked about it, like, yeah, because nobody wants to go to Milwaukee. Part of that is because Z stays in New Orleans so much up until about usually he's got like a month or so or two or month and a half where he'll dip. But he doesn't really work out. And when you do hear about him working out, and I can tell you for a fact, you know, a couple of sources have told me he was playing some 5-on-5 and doing some stuff like that with Pell's guys a couple of weeks ago. Problem with that is you can't. That's not stuff that they like. That's player run activities, right? That's not team activity. So when they're in there, they get to like they can film them working out. They can shoot them doing that. But if they go run and they're doing runs, the Pels aren't exactly allowed to film that. So that's why you don't see basically any team-driven content of 5-on-5 during the offseason. Anytime you see guys doing 5-on-5, it's they're going to get a Brickley run in, or they're maybe it's a Rico Hines run, or they're in Miami or wherever, or they're doing all these pro-ams. Z's not really a pro-am guy. He likes to kind of stay and does it. He'll do his individual stuff. I will say this: the one thing for everything that's said about him, rumor, innuendo, everything, the kid loves basketball. He loved playing basketball. I just think that
that's why I was going with this.
He does love basketball, but in the summers, he's not the guy who goes and runs pro-ams. He's not the guy that goes and works out with other guys. He works out on his own. He plays. And like I said, when he is playing, like he was playing a couple of weeks ago, from what I was told, he can't exactly then go, that can't be filmed, so we can't see it, And of course, he had a whole summer where he was hurt. He had a whole summer where it was COVID. So, I mean, that's just kind of how he is. He'll more. I mean, you have a better chance of him like dunking on 12-year-olds at his camp than of seeing him, run fives.
Appreciate your answer, brother. Good luck
Got
to you, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate that, Chaz. We're gonna move to Rocky, and then we're gonna move to Ever, and then Sam, I see you up here, and then after that we need some added requests. Rocky, you here?
Sure is. How y'all doing?
What's going on with you,
What's
dog?
up,
How you doing, Andrew?
I'm making it.
You'll like San Antonio if you like to have a good time, man. It's got some nice places at nighttime. I ain't been there in a while since I was in the military, but it's a good place. And congratulations to you on that promotion as well as your nuptials. My prayers, everything works out for you out there. But don't be a stranger to New Orleans.
I'm trying not to. I will say this: I will be at the first preseason game. I know that for sure.
Okay. Well, I'll see you at that. Because I'll be there.
Yes.
But here's my question. You've covered the Pelicans for what, about 4 years now, right?
Five total.
Five. Okay. What's the difference, in your opinion, in the locker room atmosphere between Zion and the rest of his teammates? Because a lot of people try to say like he's a distant person and you don't really see him communicating with each other. But we don't really get to see behind the walls. So could you give us like just a little bit of an inside scoop on the relationship with the players between them and Zion?
And don't get me wrong, this is not a slight at all. But when he is in the locker room, he's joking with dudes. He's laughing with guys. He's cracking jokes. I mean, he is one of the guys when he's in there. He's not necessarily a guy who, again, this kind of goes back to his circle. He's not going to be the guy who goes out. He's not going to be the guy who is, he keeps his circle tight. So when if he's going out, he's usually going out with his guys. That's just who he is. He's always kind of been that way, even going back to his first year. I think that kind of comes from him, his family always wanting to keep his circle tight. But like when we see him in the locker room, he's not, it's not like they're not talking to the guy. You know what I mean? He's not like off in a corner by himself. He's, he's just as much in the mix as everybody else, talking to guys, doing whatever. So I think that relationship is fine. I think some of it is a little overblown, but that's just kind of who he is. I think as a person is he keeps a very small circle, when he's going out or when he's doing stuff like that.
Appreciate that, man. Chris, keep doing your thing, hosting these things. Appreciate you for showing up tonight, Andrew. I look forward to seeing all of y'all, whoever's showing up on the 8th, I believe that is, for practice. I'll be there. Man, I miss the Smoothie King Center. Y'all know I'll be missing it all the way up until October. So I'm looking forward to a great season from the team. I hope you have a blessed season out there in San Antonio covering Wemby. And enjoy it, man. They got some beautiful night activities out there in San Antonio. So go venture out and enjoy.
I'll make sure when Guillory comes through, I'll make sure I take him out to some.
Somehow I don't know if I was supposed to laugh at that, but that was funny. Before I go to Everett, I wanna ask you a question, Andrew, about the medical staff. So you mentioned earlier about some of the changes, and I mean, I'll just flat out ask, like, what I've heard different things. There have been press releases, there have been whispers, there have been things missing on the side, but what went wrong with Aaron Nelson, and what do you know about Amy Atmore, and her new role and her being brought along, and what can she bring? What kind of difference maybe do you think that she may be able to bring that will bring, I guess, more stability? And I know part of injuries in life is about luck, right? But what kind of differences can she bring from Nelson? But if at all, what went wrong in that situation? Why wasn't it able to work? Because I mean, we're talking about a guy who had a lot of success and was carved with, had the reputation of several Hall of Fame players and organizations and a staff that was renowned for a long time, and things just didn't seem to really click once he got to New Orleans. It felt like even starting off early.
Yeah, I think one of the things with Aaron, I certainly was one of these people who touted that hire right away. I think it was certainly nationally, it was one of the things that it was a difference maker, especially the resources I think that the Pelicans put into the training staff and the training team, strength, conditioning, all of it right away. I think as Aaron Nelson was an innovator, or is an innovator, and was rightfully credited with doing a lot of things right when he was in Phoenix. I think there's maybe a reason that he was let go from Phoenix. We don't know that, but I think as he's gotten older, I don't know if he has kind of maybe stuck, but I think he is. I think a lot of people have caught up in part because of things that he has done and taking what he has done and gone a step further. I think ultimately it just became a philosophy issue of how to move forward. And I think that's kind of the key to this. And I think when she's coming in, Atmore's coming in to do, it's a new role. The team has not had a physical therapist on staff before. And that is kind of her job. I kind of in the tweet and maybe some how it was framed in their press release. Just want to be clear, she is not a direct replacement for Aaron Nelson. As far as everybody who I've talked to, basically it's the duties of Aaron Nelson are now kind of spread out over a few different people. So she's going to kind of come in and I think look at things at least from a rehabilitation standpoint, maybe a different way because of her background. And I think it's something that, maybe frankly should have happened a little bit sooner, is to have a physical therapist on staff with you. I think you have a lot of strength and conditioning guys. You have people who can do rehabilitation work, but that's what she's there for. And I think that's kind of something a little new that is going to do nothing but help everybody on this team. One through 18 technically now with all the two waves, but I think it's just going to be something that helps everybody around more than just trying to see what is looking at it from what went wrong with Aaron Nelson and Z kind of perspective.
Fair enough. I'm gonna move to Everett, Samuel, and then we're gonna go to Charles. Everett, you here?
What's going on? What's going on, Chris? What's going on, Andrew?
What's up, man?
Hey, first of all, have a good time in San Antonio. I've been in the Air Force for 20 years, and that's where our basic training is. So I've spent a lot of time down there in San Antonio. If you see military people walking around, don't worry about it. It's weird at first, but you'll get used to it.
I don't mean this with. This is just what I see. You go to the airport. Everybody sees this now. You board the flight. Before you board the flight, hey, active duty service member. Sometimes it's any military. Sometimes it's active duty. Bro, I swear there was a flight home. I was leaving here. It was a Southwest flight. I swear half the people got up before anybody else got on. It was just nothing but it's just. I mean, I saw a guy in Petite today like getting donuts this morning. Hey, appreciate you. How you doing? Like it's everywhere around. That's what one of the things this place is built around. Especially I think where I'm living. I don't think I'm too far from Randolph, from the base. So.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's three huge military bases out there.
Trust me, you figure it out as soon as you try to take a flight home from San Antonio.
But I do have a question for you. It's kind of a two-part question. So my question stems around your time in New Orleans and the growth that you've seen from the team from when you first got there, how the organization was and how it's changed and grown over the years to where we are today. And then also leaning into the fact that Zion is our franchise player, but I never felt like the team really leaned into the Zion thing. Like, the franchise player normally is the person that they introduce last. It was always, well, this is Drew's team, or Brandon's our guy, or CJ's is in the gym. Why haven't they never really leaned into Zion to make him that true face if he's the box office star? You know what I mean?
Yeah. First one, I think there has been a lot of positive change. A lot has gone on once Griff has taken over, compared to what it was under Dell, especially toward I think kind of the end of Dell, where we could all kind of see the moves that he was making were, I think, more of, there was some desperation moves. I mean, how long did this team go without a first round pick before Z got here? I mean, it was a lot, and I think there's been a higher level of investment. I think you always maybe hope to see more. You always want to see more. I think, especially as a fan from your ownership group. But I know there's been a ton of upgrades to the facility already. There was a larger multi-million-dollar upgrade right away to the training room when Aaron Nelson was brought in. It kind of coincided with, I think, some work that they were doing with the Saints. But they've definitely taken a number of steps forwards since Griff has got here, and that looks to be continuing to grow. Now, as far as Z being the face, I think some of it is how much do you want to put him out? I know it's still Drew's team. I think that was kind of more of, all right, let's try to not humble him. Humble is probably a bad word, but we don't want to put too much on his shoulders. A big thing early on was we don't want to say that Zion's coming to save the franchise, despite you guys saw the block party when he got the number one pick. You don't do that for somebody who's not the face, right? And I think as far as the timing of it, that stuff, I think it is what it is. I think I've seen it in some places where you want the guy to go first. Sometimes where like Book's always still last. I think in Phoenix, just he's been there longer. He's their guy when different people are coming in. I don't even remember. I honestly, I can't even tell you. Was Brandon last year? Well, when Z played, they only played like 12 games together. So it's very it's very hard for me to remember who was actually going first between those two. I thought Z was last, but again, it was a very short period of time. But I do think it's something more of though, if he were playing and he were, on the court 60, 70 games a year and winning, you lean into it more. But sometimes maybe for some section of the fan base, it's hard to lean into a guy being the guy when he's not playing the way Z's playing, or the amount of games, I should say.
I appreciate that, Andrew.
Got it. Thanks, bro.
All right, we're going to Sam and then Charles, and then I have another question for Andrew. Take it back to Sean, and then if anyone else wants to put any requests, now is the time to do it. If not, I'll just run it back with the group that's here. Sam, go ahead, bro.
Thanks, Chris, for your time, as always, putting us all together in a nice forum. And Andrew, as everyone has said, best of luck on your oncoming freight train of coverage. I'm sure you're going to be flying all around the world, almost like the Beatles World Tour with Wembley. But I've got a question, and you may not have even been thinking about this, but you are the perfect person to do the 30 for 30 on Zion. So give us a prelude to the Andrew Lopez 30 for 30 on Zion, and then a little follow-up. Who's your favorite person to cover, whether it's a Pelican or someone else in the NBA?
Well, I'll tell you what. We had to jump through a lot of hoops to get here. I think if I gave away my 30 for 30 secrets, ESPN might send somebody to my door right away. So I'm gonna hold on to that right now. But I will say, I do think there's a lot still to be said, and I think there's a lot to be said about how Zion goes from here. Part of that article today that we put up on .com is about, it's almost. I kind of wanted to refrain from using this phrase with it because but it really does feel like a make or break year. And we've seen what he can do on the floor. And I think, they know that as well. Seeing him kind of step up is going to be key. Favorite guys, they've been of, as Mr. Guillory just texted me, my favorite might be Elfrid Payton for a few reasons. One, he's a local guy. One of my favorite Elfrid stories is how much he was actually still involved with his Elfrid Payton AAU team, his EP Elite team, where I remember Pels had I think it was a late overtime game on a Friday night, back-to-back with an early start on a Saturday. So 7 o'clock tip Friday, 6 o'clock tip Saturday. Elfrid played probably 40-something minutes. It might have even been in his triple-double stretch. I think it was around that time because it was, it could have been AU tryouts. And I remember, most of the time these guys put their name on a team, and Elf, was more than that. I know of NBA Blights who they pay for the team and they don't mess with the guys. They don't do nothing. You never see them. Now we're starting to see more of that with these guys, Bradley Beal, guys like that. They're coaching their teams. Elfrid was like that. It was 9 o'clock tryouts. Elfrid was at the gym, 9 o'clock. Went to girls tryouts for his girls team at 10:30. Then went and got his shots in. Then went and got his nap, and then came back out and had a game that night. So he's one, but just because he's a local and he understood us. During that, because Elfrid was here during that AD year, where things got a little weird, and AD requested trade, and I think there was a question in the locker room posed by an unnamed media member to E'Twaun Moore, where it almost felt like he was trying to trap Mr. Uncle E. Again, I'm not going to say this person's name, William Guillory, but E'Twaun dodged the question and kind of was like, "Hey man, how you gonna ask me something like that?" Kind of in a joking fashion. Like, E'Twaun's not mad. Like, let me just clear that up. E'Twaun he's the best. Uncle E's the greatest. But Elf said something that night that I will always remember and wish a lot of other guys understood. Just because, like, it's our job to ask you questions, even if it's hard questions. Like, we're not in there to just ask soft questions, to just do what the team wants. Like, if we got to ask about, hey, man, y'all are playing better without AD in the fourth quarter. Like, what's going on? Yes, might be an uncomfortable question, especially if AD standing 5 feet away. But it's something we got to ask. Now, what Elfrid said that night was, it's your job to ask tough questions. I don't have to answer everyone. And that stuck with us. And it was one of those things where he's like, y'all have a job to do. He said, I remember when I was at UL, you know, he's like, I didn't understand some of those things one time. So like, why y'all trying to catch me? And it's like, oh, it really doesn't, like, they're not trying to. It just so happens that, look, we got a job to do. You got a job to do. So he definitely stands out. I mean, you guys have seen it. Larry's fantastic. Larry has the first chair in the locker room. We're also often going there, talking to him about different stuff. Trey is hilarious. I really do like most of the guys. Like, I think most of the guys, all of the guys that have kind of come through in the last 2 or 3 years. They have been joys to cover. But Elf stands out. Trey stands out. Larry stands out. Outside of that, it's kind of Devontae. I mean, even Tay was cool. Josh Hart was like, they really have had a good group of guys kind of come through New Orleans in the last 3-4 years. It really has been fun to cover this team.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it, Sam. Charles, you here?
Yes, sir. What's up, Chris?
Go ahead, bro.
Cool, man. Just want to say congratulations, Andrew. It's been a pleasure, following you as you cover the team.
Appreciate it.
Great information. Absolutely, man. The question I have for you is kind of related to, your colleagues and, water cooler talk and intel and sharing kind of what is your sense that outsiders have about the team? Your colleagues do the article every year. I haven't seen one this year where they do like, team turmoil, team turnaround, things of that nature. Kind of like, what are the questions that people are asking you about the team, and kind of what is your sense on kind of the temperature as it relates to how they view the Pelicans just overall in their situation?
I think it's pretty much like, all right, what's going on with Z? What's going on with Z? What's going on? Like, that really is kind of the driving thing right now. Is where is he at? How is he doing healthy? And they understand, even from a national perspective, that's what's going to drive this team forward, is a healthy Zion. And I think we did have our projected wins, and I think the Pels came in 11th, so out of the play-in, even at like 43 wins, because we think the West is going to be very competitive this year, as it has been. Where the Pels were 42-40 last year, and don't make the playoffs. I do think a team with a winning record could find themselves not in the playoffs. Once again, I think it's going to be very difficult. But in talking to people, it's mostly, hey, what's going on with Big Fella, and that is it's talking to them. It's pretty much the same, and it's kind of trying to figure out where what is next for them, and some think like, all right, hey, is it, do they need to think about moving him or anything like that? But like, it's all in a, what do you think stuff? It's not like a, oh, we definitely think they need to move. They're curious, just like everybody else is curious. And I think it does center a lot around his health, and if he is going to be healthy enough to be that guy.
Appreciate that, Andrew.
Andrew, I'm gonna ask you a question here that was given to me, and then I will move forward. One of them here from our guy Christopher Gray on YouTube. He says, "What has to be done for Herb to get mentioned for an all-defensive team?"
I think the Pels need to win 45 games, 50 games. They got to be in that. They can't be in the play-in race. They got to be above that. They got to be top 6. I think last year Herb's start to the season hurt. I think if you go back 2 years ago and maybe do a revote at the end of the year, I think Herb makes that team. Because of the momentum he picked up in the play-in and in the Phoenix series. It's just very hard for a rookie to make it. And I think last year his injury kind of slowed him down. And then he picked up. There were obviously still a bunch of guys who did still mention him. But I think the Fells need to start winning. I think CJ has said as much. If this team's winning 48 games and is a 6 seed or a 5 seed, I think Herb makes all defense easy. Because for them to do that, 2 things have to happen. One, I think C has to be healthy, and 2, Herb has to continue playing fantastic defense. So that I think is what it's going to take. We've seen him have good games. I mean, when he has these big games against big guys, I mean, stuff he did to Book, things like when he has those types of games, it helps. But I think for as much as I would like to say, there's still some voters who I don't think are doing as much research. I think we're as an overall electorate, I think they're way better than they were maybe even 10, 15 years ago. And I say that as somebody who does not have a vote, but I still think it's going to take wins for them to be able to say, hey, this guy here who, is one of, if not one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, his team needs to also win. It's hard to put somebody who's, if their team is finishing 11th or 12th, to get on that team. So I think team wins will equal success for an all defensive guy like that.
I'm glad you said that, Andrew, because that actually leads to my next question about expectations. Yep. So last year it felt like most people before the season started. Once the season got going, it was all over the damn place in regards to expectations. But before the season started, I felt like a good majority of folks, a good percentage, were right around the same spot. Like, okay, just not be in the play-in, and then from there have another competitive playoff series or win a playoff series, and then at that point you're heading in the right trajectory, right? Make the playoffs back-to-back years for, again, like what that's happened twice in the entire since the teams moved to New Orleans, right? So and of course that didn't happen last season, but this year it feels a lot more a lot murkier, right? Because talking to a lot of people, man, is things like, all right, if this team underwhelms, or they're in another situation where they can't figure it out, or guys aren't healthy, there will, this may be the last year that you're looking at, right? Even if you just simplify it with Brandon and Zion together, right?
Go ahead, my bad.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I was just gonna say, like, I get it. Like, I think last year for sure it was you wanted to see the next step, and I still think there is that, but I also think this year, the West is tougher, which Portland's gonna be Portland, San Antonio is gonna be San Antonio, and then you got 13 teams trying to win games. You got 13 teams who want to make a jump. We'll see how big of a jump Houston makes. We'll see how big of a jump Houston makes, but let's put them, still 13. You got 12 teams who are still really good, top to bottom. And I mean, I think two teams who are going to be good teams are not going to make the play-in, let alone playoffs. I mean, we saw injuries happen. That's always there, but is Utah ready to fully commit and try to be a playoff team this year, or are they going to kind of soft tank? We saw Dallas. Dallas went through. They outright tanked the end of the year and got fined for it. So, that was another. I mean, you're going to have a lot of teams who were trying to win. I think that's where does this team, and because of kind of the murkiness of what has happened with Z in the past, it puts them a little lower on play team radar. I think when we did that win projection thing, we do it every year, and they basically ask you to, before the year, pick the wins out of every team, and I think I had them a little higher than maybe what we had them at 42 and 40, but I think we had them at that, and they were 11th, and so it's still just tough, and I think it's. Because the West is tougher. If you were coming off of, you had the momentum you had last year, or the year before, it was because the minimum was you took Phoenix to 6 without Z, add him to this, and what could happen, and we saw what could happen. Right, this team was first in the West at one point in December, had a very good win against the soon-to-be NBA champions in December. We're second or third in the West by half a game when Z did get hurt, and watch where they dropped. So I think it's still that same sentiment of what can they do, but I think there's just more people who are pessimistic about it because because Z has been Z, and they actually want to see it rather than just keep hearing about it.
That sounds like a very difficult business to run. How do you plan? How do you structure your business? And we're just talking financially. If we're just talking financially with a Lumen extension, on the that you're gonna have to figure out with BI one way or another. We know the money CJ's making. We know the money Zion's making. Trey's gonna be up for money eventually.
Trey's gonna be up for a lot of money.
Just paid Herb.
Trey's gonna be up for a lot of money.
A lot of money, right? Herb, you just gave Herb some money. The list goes on, and the team, the roster still has some flaws that you can address,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, that's why I asked the question about what do you think from inside the building, what the expectations are, because on one end it seems to be a very critical season, but then you look at the offseason, really wasn't much done. Mm-hmm. Which could be a gift or could be a curse. You told me how difficult the West is. Are you setting yourself up for another average year, or is it just at this point, hey, we got to see if number 1 and number 14 can play enough games, and then we'll reevaluate from there?
I think that's kind of it. And if you can't, you have made some changes. You've made changes in your training staff, as we have talked about. Maybe that helps 1 and 14 stay on the court a little bit more. Because, we've still not seen a lot of 14. 14 has missed a lot of games last year. So this isn't a Z issue. This is, you have to see what this team looks like. I've said this stat so much. Everybody who's probably listening has heard it multiple times. CJ, Brandon, Zion, since CJ was traded for, have played 10 games for a total of 172 minutes and are plus 60 in those minutes. Those are good numbers, minus the fact that they've only played 10 games. So being plus 60 and 172, great. The fact that you've only played 172, not great. Will just watched all 172, did an article on it, and was probably finished by lunch and could have gotten whatever he wanted. Like, it doesn't take that long to watch all of this film. It's just, that's what you want to see. You want to see more of this group. And I think this is the year we either see more or something's got to happen. And it's just getting to that point where contracts are up. You have money for Trey coming due. You got a good deal on Herb, I think, by getting him a year earlier. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to health on what this team can be. If they're a healthy team, I think they can compete for a top 6 spot in the West. But that is very much a big, big if.
Fair enough. All right, we're gonna move back here to, let's see. I got Sean, I got Travis, and then I'm gonna go to Kai. And then we'll keep it moving here. Sean, you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, bro.
Man, I've listened to so many of these, and I've never even tried to speak. This is crazy. I ain't gonna lie. But I'm trying to keep it simple. My one question is, and thank you, Andrew, for all the support you've given this organization and reporting you've done on it. You've been fantastic with your writing.
Appreciate it.
But my question is, even if this team is able to have a good season, everybody stays relatively healthy, and let's say like they get to the second round. Since Brandon's on an expiring and everybody knows he's going to be up for a lot of money, do you think he would even sign with us again, or would we even offer him that kind of money?
So I think he's got 2 left. So he's got 2. He's only up for an extension because he's got 2. I will say that the only reason Brandon is not signing his extension right now is he's trying to make the All-NBA play. If he makes All-NBA, he qualifies for Supermax, he gets more money. It's as simple as that. I don't think this is a situation where Brandon not signing an extension is a sign of not being happy with the team or anything like that. It is strictly a money play where him and his team, his agents, are hoping, I mean, hey, if he can play 65, he can get onto that All-NBA third team or something like that, that he would qualify for more money. So I don't think it's a situation where he's iffy on the team or anything like that. But I think if this team makes the second round, everybody's resigning. I mean, it's happy. It's, depending on who you run into in the East. I mean, I think you are. I mean, in the West. I mean, in the conference semis, I think you're in a good spot. I mean, we know how the league feels about this team. Larry was in here 2 weeks ago, talking about how a player on the Nuggets told him in Vegas, "We were worried about you." I was talking to same Denver people. I covered that first round series, that Minnesota Denver series. I covered that series, and heard from Denver folks. Kind of glad that didn't happen. So I think if they're in a position where they're winning a playoff series, I think everybody is happy, and Brandon is likely signing. But he is not signing because of he wants more money. That's kind of all that one is.
I appreciate that. And a simple one. If he does get that extension, does that mean we would not pay Trey? Because everybody knows he's going to want a bag.
No, I think because of the way the cap's going to jump, you're going to still try to find a way. I find a hard time believing that this team lets Trey get away.
Yeah, that wouldn't be great. All right. I appreciate y'all for letting me speak. Andrew, I hope you have a great time in San Antonio. Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate that, Sean. Moving to Travis, then Kai, and then I got another YouTube question. Chaz, I see your hand up. We're going to get back to you as well. And then I see you in here too. Travis, go ahead.
Hey, what's going on? I had a question, non-basketball operations related. I just wanted to get like an update and see what you think of the arena situation, especially in light of Oklahoma City. The city is voting, I think either this week or next.
Yes.
They're doing like an extension of a tax that they had or whatever. And their ownership is only putting in like $50 million there. Do you picture the Pelicans in the future being more like Golden State, where they buy the whole arena, or more like Oklahoma City, where they put a very small percentage down and the rest goes to a state or a city tax? That's all I got. Thanks.
I'm gonna say this about Smoothie King Center, and I think other people have said this, and it has not been as well received. But Smoothie King is bottom 3, and they ain't 3. This is not a great arena, folks, compared to everything else in the NBA. And I think one of the other 3 in the bottom 3 was Oklahoma City. Now, it does kind of still remain to be seen if the city will vote for that tax. I think if something were to happen with the Pelicans, it would be more along those lines rather than, the Gail Benson putting up her own money and buying, getting their own spot and putting up and controlling everything. I just think that's traditionally how things have worked with the relationship between the Saints in the state and the Pelicans in the state. That's just kind of going more on tradition. I think there are people in the organization who would like to just do the Jerry World idea, do the Golden State idea, own it. That way you own all of the concessions, you make the money off the concerts coming in and all that kind of stuff. I think it's one thing. I do think that they need to do something about the arena. I think standing pat is not going to work. I understand COVID, ruin some things, especially as they're trying to finish up all these renovations on the Dome. I still believe something is going to happen with the arena in terms of, I think it's probably renovations. But it's something's got to happen, guys, because it ain't, like I said, it's bottom three and it ain't three.
And now somebody gonna hit it and say that you called it the worst arena in the NBA.
No, I did not.
I
did not.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Andrew.
Yes.
I'm gonna say it for you since you can't say it. It is.
I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying it ain't high on the list.
All right, man. Appreciate that, Travis. Let me move to my dog Kai, and then I got a YouTube question and a question from someone near and dear. I mean, they said they're near and dear to you, so I not my words, his words. Kai, go ahead.
First of all, how y'all doing tonight? Andrew, man, congrats on the promotion. Happy to see. Like anytime I see somebody from New Orleans doing something good, that make me feel good, man. So I'm happy for you, bro. Like I hope you become the next Woj or some shit like that. That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. But I have a question, and it's really not about the players. It's about David Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been covering the team for 4 to 5 years, right? Now, you might can't answer this because you work for Disney. But at what point in covering the team for the 4 or 5 years did you realize, damn, this motherfucker is slick as a motherfucker and all he talk? Because he never really answers your questions, but he always give you these long-winded answers, and then you be coming back like, wait, hold up. That don't jive with what you just said the last time I talked to you, because if you go back to what he said toward the end of the season, and then what he said the beginning of the season about a week ago, you like, wait, hold up. This ain't the same thing. So at what point did you realize, now you just answer like, you know, we from New Orleans, we talking. At what point did you realize, man, David Griffin really don't be like, he know how to not answer stuff like this is he's a slick one.
Look,
he's a slick one, bro. I can't really call him what he want. But like when did you pick it up? Year 2? Around year 2?
Look, I'm gonna put it like this. You see him more with Griff because y'all hear him. There's very few guys in the NBA, period, who top to bottom are gonna hit, like when you ask them questions, they're gonna tell you what the real is the whole time. And it's a lot of that. And I think you saw it with Griff. You could finally figure it out early on. Like Griff likes to talk. And it's a learned thing where a lot of guys in the NBA, a lot of GMs, a lot of coaches don't ask you. Like part of our job is figuring out how to ask the question to get the answer we're looking for. And I've been in press conferences where we had to do that. You might have to ask somebody the same question 2-3 times. He might shut down what Christian say, or might shut down what Will say, or might shut down what somebody else say. All right, and we all looking at each other like, all right, well, you say it like this, boom, and that all happens. And so Griff is good at it. He's good at his job. Part of that is, I think, going back to like kind of covering colleges. I'm gonna take you a step back. When I covered LSU, you saw a bunch of people who they would try and protect the team and the kind of SID. They wouldn't let certain guys talk and things like that. But I think with Griff and with some of these professionals, they just know, hey, my job is still to run a team. I can't tell you everything because, you know, I can't let you know exactly who I'm trying to trade for. I might let you know, I might give you a hint or two, but so I think it's one of those things where like Griff is very, very good at his job, and that is part of his job.
Okay, that's all I just want to do. Cause like come on, bro.
I know what you're saying.
You talking bad. You catch it on, and I know you done had points where you be looking at like, come on, man. You this don't jive with what you just said the other 2 days ago. I know you've had the moments.
There is times when he goes like that and you start scratching your head, but then you go back, you check the tape, you try to go through all that. But that's how he is. But again, there's a lot of GMs in the league who do the same thing. It's part of being in control of an NBA team.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't the only crazy one because I caught on, and that's all. We happy for you, bro. Go on. Thank you.
Got you.
Appreciate that, Kai. A YouTube question. Then we're gonna get to Brandon, and we're gonna get to Chaz, who has his hand up here. This is from a Spurs fan.
There we go.
This is from Tavarius. I think he trying to bait you. Rank the Southwest Division.
Ooh. Let's see. Probably right now, Grizzlies 1, Mavs 2, Pels 3, Houston 4, Spurs 5. Mostly because I think Spurs are going to try a lot of things with Vic to see where they're at. I really think them and kind of Houston could be interchangeable, really. I think they're going to try a lot of things with Victor and try to let him play through some mistakes and continue to grow as a team. I think Houston with Ime is going to try and we'll see where they're at. I think they're going to start pushing their chips in a little bit. And I don't think that means they're going to go try to trade for anybody or anything like that. But I think they're going to try to start, doing some more things. I did a story on Houston back in March and talked to a bunch of people over there. And they're like, look, this is kind of the end of phase 1 of the rebuild. They're entering phase 2. You need to start winning games. So I think they're going to try a little bit more. We'll see where they're at this year. Pels smack dab in the middle. Again, as we talked about a lot, health is a big thing. I think right now I got Memphis 1, but not having a ton of games of Ja. We'll see how that goes. Traditionally, they have been okay. We'll see how they are moving forward. And then for Dallas right there, too, I really with Dallas right now, it's how is Kyrie and Luka really going to work? I think they've improved the wing. I think they really missed Dorian Finney-Smith after that trade. And I think that's really hurt them. They need to kind of take a step up and kind of see. But I think it's very fluid. But like today, that would be my power rankings heading into the season.
Ja is scheduled to miss what is it, 25 non-injury related games, and you have them number 1. Must be nice, man. It must be nice.
It's when nobody else on your team misses games, it helps.
Must be nice, man. Gonna move to Brandon, and then back to Chaz, and then I got two other I guess questions to end the show here from YouTube. And we out. Brandon, you here?
My protege.
Yeah, man.
My protege.
What's up, fellas? Yeah, how's it going? So I'm throwing you softball right here, kind of help you out a little bit. I am. I honestly am. So the process, and I guess the difference in reporting information that you know and the information that is reportable. What's that like? Obviously, somebody that we both know who covers the team has taken a lot of heat and flack from the fan base. So I guess what's that process for you? And then especially working for a lettered organization that you work for.
So it's what's reportable, what's sourceable, what's you don't say anything. And I think there's a lot of that all over the place. I think anybody who covers the team tells you there's info that we know that we will probably never share, just because that's kind of how this business works. Sometimes people tell you stuff in confidence. Part of that is you hear stuff in confidence, you keep that, and okay, now I know I can trust you. Now I know I can tell you other things. Sometimes those things are also off the record, but it's also you get to a point where you know that, all right, hey, we can do something together. We can work out, and it becomes something where you can use some of that info down the line. Some of it just kind of comes down to, I think where I'm at now, I probably have a little bit higher of a bar to clear when it comes to. In fact, I'm pretty sure one of my editors in here right now will tell you that we have a little bit of a higher bar to clear before we could run with something that is sources. It's not a, hey, one person told me this, you can go run it right away. That's and I'm not saying anybody else has done that. I'm not in everything that, you know, and I'll say everything that Christian has done, I believe he believes 100%. There's been some things that he's reported that I have heard and he has gotten. I don't think he's ever put out something that was intentionally bad or intentionally trying to screw over somebody. I think it has all been very, very solid reporting. I think he does a wonderful job, an amazing job covering this team. You know, there is a high bar to clear for us in terms of that. It's who, you know, it's multiple times. It's you know, you always kind of see multiple sources say all that kind of stuff. It's about relationship building. It's hard. I will say it's one of the things I picked up early on when I was covering recruiting even before my time at LSU. Is you learn, hey, I can't say this, I can say this, and then so slowly, college coaches start to trust you a little bit more, and it's the same thing with these guys, and it's a hard balance, but that's where, you know, kind of years of practice comes in. That's where you have, you know, older reporters you lean on, you have editors you lean on, and you figure out what is, you know, what can we say. A great example is, you know, a lot of what happened in Phoenix with Robert Sarver came out of that Baxter Holmes ESPN story. Baxter did not talk to 3 people for that story. You know, it was hundreds of people before you run with something like that. And I think that's kind of the key, is making sure what you're reporting is absolutely true. And if you have to protect the source, you protect, but you have to know what you're saying is true before you put it out, especially where, you know, where I am.
Appreciate the question, Brandon. We're gonna move to Chaz, and then I got a couple other YouTube joints, and then I think we can pretty much close out. Chaz, what up, bro?
Oh boy, Andrew, we caught you slipping. We caught you slipping with that Southwest ranking, big dog. I'm gonna let it go though. I'm gonna let it go. But that lends to my question. All right, you see this past offseason, the team had a bit of a chance to kind of reset with maybe a Scoot acquisition, right?
Yep.
And in the event that things don't work out with Zion, maybe you have the new face of your franchise to usher in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you get to reset your books a little bit, you know, and it just seems to me that this team, this struggles with self-awareness. Like, the fans asking for new jerseys, they give you a new court nobody wanted to ask for. You know, the fans asking for local food, they giving you like random spoons in the arena. It's just like it's a real lack of self-awareness. And me, as a person who listens to a lot of national broadcasts or like broadcasts for other teams, I never really hear nobody talk about nobody but Zion.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's like Zion the only thing that matters, why I got the other 2 max dudes here? Like, what, you know, if Zion go down, it's over. So what I need them for? So do you think this team struggles with self-awareness?
No, I mean, I think so. Break down a couple of things in there. One, I know for a fact I'll say the same thing about the food. You ain't going to the fact that we ain't got, look, it's the Smoothie King Center. You got one place you can get smoothies. There's no beignet stand in there. Come on, like, let's give me something that's New Orleans. I got one jambalaya cart that I got to go find halfway around the arena now that they didn't tuck away. I mean, they could do a better job there. I think that's a different side. Basketball ops, talking about the jerseys. I'll tell you one thing about the jerseys. They do not have a lot of control over that. That is a Nike-driven thing. The fact that they got a new court for the first time in 8 years, I'm actually surprised by that. That's not something that has been on the top of their priority list in years past, but I think that's a step in the right direction. Jerseys, there will be, because what they redid the cities this year. There's going to be another set still to be announced, or one of the jerseys. I don't know. The Reds are redone, and there's going to be another jersey that's new. So, but that's all Nike, and that's set out a year and a half, 3 years in advance. So they're probably talking now about like the 25, 26 city edition jerseys. So that's why it was like not as simple for what was it? It was the 21-22 cities that I and I think many people thought should have been the whole set. You just redo the set like that, the white ones, and it doesn't happen right away because, well, they already got something planned for this year, and that's a Nike thing. But as far as like the team, I think the team, I mean, from a national perspective, it is Z. Z's what drives the talk. Z's what drives the viewers. That's what everybody nationally knows. It doesn't matter as much what Brandon Ingram does. You know, it doesn't matter as much what CJ McCollum does. Even though CJ McCollum is the president of the Players Association. Brandon Ingram just represented his country in the World Cup. They know it's about Z. And I think in the NBA, it is a star-driven league. That's where things go to with Z. But you're not going to win with just Z. You take those two off the team, and it's just Z. All right, well, you're going to be in the same boat, even if Z was healthy, I think. It's playing with those guys that I think puts you in a spot where you become a great team. You still need other guys around it, but I think the team can't control the national talk. So that's where I think that comes from.
If I could push it back just a little bit, I ain't trying to put you in a bad spot here. Well, when we talk about this team's accolades recently, as far as, I mean, if we want to call this accolade, the bar is in hell. But the number one in the West, the whole December thing, that was for a large majority. Well, that was totally without Brandon,
right?
And some of that was without CJ. Yeah, without Brandon. Some of that was with a little bit without CJ. You got COVID CJ, and you got a little bit without Herb. So it still just seemed like it's never, the narrative. This never really is like, well, if Zion goes out, if this team can stay afloat, kind of like with Ja. Like if Ja goes out, you like, oh, Memphis can probably stay afloat. Mm-hmm. With other teams, if certain top guys go out, you counting on them to kind of stay afloat a little bit, Clippers, etc. But with this team, if it's no Zion, it's like nothing matters no more. And that's alarming that your only acquisition in the offseason will be Cody Zeller. No, when you're armed with that information.
And I think to that, I think I do have questions about that. I think if you even to go back to what I said before, I think I told you, I think if Z plays 65 games, 70 games, this team can win 50. Getting back to that, that's how they played last year. When you come out, and I think Griff will have to answer these questions on Monday. When you come out and you say at the end of the last year that you need rim protecting, you need more shooting, and you go out and get Jordan Hawkins, who's a great shooter, but is going to be a rookie. We'll see where he's at. And Cody Zeller, that's not exactly addressing those two needs at a high level. And, did they try? Did they look at other things? They sure did, but nothing ever came together. But I think the one thing what this team is going to have to adjust to if Z misses time is when Ja misses time from Memphis shifts to a different style of basketball. It's not the running gun. It's not getting up. They can slow it down and still be successful with the pieces they have on their team. I think what they have tried to do in the past is still try to play the same way, and it hasn't worked. I think they understand that, and I think you could see some different things this year if Z goes down for an extended period. That part is kind of, I think, been the trick here with them is they got to do something different. I do think this year we could see some different things offensively with James Borrego. Obviously, we saw how high they were with Z. I think they were like 6th or 7th in offense when Z went out, and then they plummeted when he was before and after January 2nd, whatever it was. I think James Borrego could help a lot of that. For everything James Borrego was in Charlotte, they were really good offensively. They got threes up. The teams were genuinely good on that side. Defense, not so much, but you're also dealing with a lot of other issues in Charlotte. But I think that can be a help. I mean, I could see that being something they tout on Monday, despite everything else that has happened. But I still think I would have liked to see them do more this offseason than what they did. And try to still move stuff around. I do think they could see how the season is going. I could see them making a move. I don't know before camp now, since camp is Monday, but could still see them making a move with somebody, toward the deadline and trying to make a push. I think they know they need to do that. They know they need to cash in some of these chips. They can't just stay there forever and be, and let them all kind of just go to waste.
Appreciate you, bro.
Got you.
Let's see. All right, we got a question here from. I'm gonna leave this person's name out of it. When do you plan on thanking Will for leaving NOLA.com so you could move over to the Pels beat? There's no way you'll guess who asked that question.
All I want to say is thank God the Athletics showed up. All right, this is a true story. So when I was covering LSU, in 2016. 2017-18, that was, or 2016-17, and that's the year we hired Will from the Advocate. When I made them pluck him from being a lowly prep writer, and I said, hey, we need to hire this kid. Like, he's good. Like, we really need to get him. And we hired him to be our two-lane writer. And some issues happened with John Reed that year, and all of a sudden, Will got elevated to being the Pels writer. Now, talking to some editors, I'm like, all right, hey, at the end of the season, like, yo, let me come down. Like, I want the job. And at the time when we were competing against the Advocate at LSU, and my boss told me, he's like, I don't know if I can bring you home yet. This is too important for us. And I was like, come on, like, let me go home. This is what I want to do. I was praying Will didn't get that job. I love Will. I love Will to death, bro. That's my brother for life. I promise you. But Will is from New Orleans. Will wasn't gonna leave that job. When something came, I was like, man, Will get that job. I'm never coming home. I'm like, all right, I might buy a house in Baton Rouge then. I ain't going nowhere. So when he left to go to Athletic, we had changed editors, and I was very happy because I knew there wasn't anything stopping me at that point, and I was able to go home. And it allowed me to be able to cover a team with my brother for the last 4 years. We go around the country, we have fun, and now to see us both in the position we're in right now, him starting to cover Miami a little bit more, do the things he's doing on a national level. You look at all the stuff that they were putting out the other night, and there's an article from him, about what does this mean for Miami and Dame? And I'm reading that while I'm, sitting in San Antonio. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that all of this is kind of happening for two kids who, grew up in the East, went to the same elementary school, he's best friends with my cut, couldn't be connected more is fun to see. But I will thank him right now for leaving so I could get that job and set my side of this in motion.
All right, we're gonna close the last question with Chuck, and then I'm gonna let Will speak his piece.
I just wanted to jump on and say I appreciate Andrew for thanking me. I'm at dinner with my pops out here in Starkville. Shout out to my pops. I just want to jump on the spaces and say shout out to my dog Andrew. I'm extremely happy for him and everything he's doing. He deserves everything he got right now. I know he's gonna kill it in San Antonio. I know he's about to take it to the next level. As he said, I'm trying to take it to the next level, but I didn't leave him I leave y'all like he did. So shout out to me for that one. But I also want to say that Andrew's my dog. Like he said, that's my brother for life, and I'm happy for everything he's doing. And when I go to San Antonio, he's definitely buying me a steak. So shout out to that as well.
Hey, bro, I had to buy you steaks everywhere. Like, come on, man. I had to ask you today what the steakhouse in Dallas was.
We ain't talking about, why you bringing up old stuff? We ain't talking about that. We talking about the future.
Man, I think I got money now. I could treat him to steaks everywhere. See how this is? See how this man do me, bro?
I mean, Will went he went on a show and said that he don't support none Chris kind of do. I ain't gonna say the show he did, but it's crazy. I mean, I shouldn't even let him up here, but it's all right. You get after a while, you know what you're dealing with, and you just kind of just put it in its place.
Hey,
it's kind of like
Yeah, like you know what I'm saying? That's just who Will is at this point. So you just accept it and just move on.
Go take a shot with Pops. You know you can't do that with me. So go take one with Pops and go enjoy dinner, bro. I'll see you when you get out here.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
All right, man, Chuck. I didn't had Andrew here for over an hour. I told him an hour. We went over time. Chuck, final question, and then we out of here. Chuck, go ahead.
All right, man. What's up, Andrew, man? You know,
What's
like
up,
everybody else been saying, congrats to you, Slim. You know, just want them to continue the ascension for you, bro. I ain't gonna lie, this is the first time I ever heard your accent come out like that. I was like, who the hell?
Oh yeah, you heard? Yeah. See, I don't. It's. I don't want to say it's switching, but you talk a different way on ESPN. As I've gotten more comfortable in this, it come out and it's Will's fault, bro. Will does this. Like,
Wait, hey, Andrew, would you say it is? Say it again.
It's Will's fault.
No. Before that, what you call it? What you call the art of changing?
It's code switching. Let's call it what it is.
Oh, okay.
It's code switching. It is what it is.
Yeah. You know, Chuck, go ahead.
Don't tell Deion Sanders.
Hey, man, that just means you comfortable, man. You with the people. But it's a quick. I'm trying to make a quick little 2-part jump, man. One, I say, you know, we have not seen decent, like, healthy season from Brandon in a while, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and it kind of seems like the past few years you're going to kind of break his seasons up into parts. You know what I'm saying? When he's getting started, adjusting to the game, revving up, and then like when he's comfortable, closer towards the end of the season, like, you know, he looks like this, like, you know, borderline all NBA level talent. Like, I want to know at this stage, what do you think a full healthy season from him looks like? And if him and Zion are both healthy this year, what do you think the season and the postseason looks like for this Pelicans team?
So one thing I think about Brandon that is going to be different coming in this year, I really think as much as the USA basketball experience didn't maybe go the way he wanted it to, it was him playing basketball for 6-7 months and a half, 6-7 weeks at a high level in the offseason. And I think that's going to have him hit that peak that we've seen from Brandon. All right, sometimes we see it in like late November, December. I think he's going to hit that earlier. And I think that's key. I've said before, if I think Z plays 65 games, I think this team wins 50. I think if you get 70 out of both of them, you're easily top 4 seed. But that is a very, very, very big if. You know, I think because of the injuries and because of what they dealt with, it's tough. It's harder. But maybe the changes with the medical staff will work in their favor. It is a bunch of luck. I mean, Larry said there's a bunch of here. Like, you hit somebody's like you kick somebody's foot. You can't prevent that. You know, his injury. You know, you turn your ankle on somebody. It's hard. But I think for Brandon, he'll hit that peak. If he goes on his trajectory he should hit that peak a little bit earlier this year because of that. If I'm Brandon's team, his agent, his people, I'm definitely not signing a contract extension this year. Because, now granted, I haven't played 65 games, but maybe once in my career. But if you can make an all-NBA team, what's to say you can't? What's to say, like, let's say this team clears top 6. 48 wins, probably gets that. Now, what if Z plays 60 games? Well, is somebody going to get rewarded for that? What if I play 65 and I make it? You know, and I'm looking at a lot of money on the other side. So I think there's that side of motivation for him. He'll hit it. Like I said, I think he hits it earlier because of the USA basketball experience. So it's a healthy Z and a healthy BI will mean good things for this team. I just have to see it happen. Going back to the power rankings. That's why I got them 3rd, because I have to see it happen before, you know, I have any more faith in this team.
Appreciate you, man.
Got you.
All right, man. That was today's show with the new and refound Alamo Lopez. Look, man, it was dope, man, for you to
Can you believe we've had 7 months without an NFL game? Crazy, right? Well, good thing that's over. NFL's here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving you a can't-miss offer. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 on any NFL game. DraftKings is hooking everyone up with game day greatness. Download now and use code BOOT to sign up. New customers can take home $200 in bonus bets instantly just for betting $5. That's code BOOT only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours.
That helps bring a little bit more to it. And, like I said, we've been trying to do this for quite some time. And I figured with us, when we moved, I was like, hey, let me give it one more shot.